I have something to tell you.
What is it?
My chest, it hurts.
Oh my God, he's collapsing! Call 911! Help him!
I never imagined that a single cup of coffee would expose 7 years of lies. That morning, my mother-in-law smiled as she placed a steaming mug in front of me and said, "I made this especially for you." Something about it didn't feel right. So I made one small decision that changed everything. I switched the cups. Seconds later, the man who had never believed me collapsed to the floor after drinking the coffee that was meant for me. What happened next uncovered a family secret. Now let's go. I sat at the long dining table that morning, my fingers curled around a steaming mug my mother-in-law, Patricia, had just placed in front of me. Her smile was sweet. Too sweet, like honey hiding something bitter underneath it. "Especially for you, dear," she chirped. I forced my own smile, even though my stomach was already tightening. "So sweet of you," I said lightly. The heat from the mug seeped into my palms, but something about it felt off. The smell wasn't the rich, familiar coffee scent I knew so well. There was an odd chemical tang underneath it, almost metallic, the kind that tingles at the back of your throat before you've even taken a sip. Across from me, my husband Ryan barely looked up from his phone. One arm draped over the back of his chair, that same arrogant air hanging over him like always. "Drink up," Patricia encouraged, eyes twinkling. "I made it just the way you like it." That was a lie. Patricia had never once cared how I liked my coffee. 7 years I'd sat at this table. 7 years of her condescension, her subtle little digs, the way she pulled Ryan's strings like he was nothing but her puppet. I glanced over at him. He didn't notice the way his mother was watching me, the tension sitting in her jaw as she waited for me to drink. Something wasn't right. My mind flickered back. 2 months ago, a violent night of stomach cramps after dinner at Patricia's house. I'd been curled up on her bathroom floor in agony while she played the concerned hostess just outside the door. "Maybe you have a sensitive stomach, dear," she'd mused. Ryan had just rolled his eyes. "Always so dramatic, Emma." Then there was the tea. The dizzy spells. The way my whole body would feel sluggish for no reason. "Maybe you're just dehydrated," Patricia had said, so sweetly it made my skin crawl. I gripped the mug tighter. This wasn't a coincidence. Not anymore. I took a slow breath. And without hesitating, I slid the mug toward Ryan's seat. Pretending to be absorbed in my phone, I wrapped my fingers around his cup instead. One smooth, deliberate switch. Ryan didn't notice a thing. Still scrolling. I lifted the mug meant for him and took a slow sip. Black coffee, no sugar. Just the way he liked it. And Ryan, without even thinking, picked up the cup Patricia had set down for me and drank from it. The reaction was instant. Patricia's smile cracked. For 1 second I saw something underneath it. Panic, fear, shock, before she smoothed her face back over. Leaned back. Watching. Waiting. Ryan rubbed his temple, still scrolling, but his brow had started to furrow. "Ugh," he muttered, shifting in his seat. Patricia's eyes darted toward him. Her fingers curled into the tablecloth. I took another sip of his coffee, pretending not to notice anything. "Maybe you should drink some water," I suggested, light as anything. Her nails dug deeper into the fabric. Ryan groaned, blinking hard. "I feel off." Patricia's chair scraped back loudly. "Maybe you should lie down," she said, too fast. Way too fast. My chest tightened. She already knew exactly what was happening to him. Kept my voice casual. "That's strange, Ryan. You drank the same coffee your mother made for me. If I'm fine, why aren't you?" Patricia froze solid. Ryan barely reacted, already too sluggish. I watched the realization land on Patricia's face. Watched her fear turn into something she couldn't hide anymore. Ryan inhaled sharply and swallowed hard. His face twisted. Sweat broke out along his hairline. His hand trembled as he reached for his water glass. Patricia shot forward. "Sweetheart, let's get you to bed," she said, desperation cracking through her voice. I folded my arms. "Or we could call a doctor." They both froze. Ryan shook his head, brushing it off. I just need a second. He was too far gone to see the way his mother was looking at him. Not with worry, but with terror. I turned to her. Why don't you want a doctor, Patricia? The color drained from her face. Don't be ridiculous, she snapped, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ryan tried to stand, swayed, and grabbed the counter for balance. I'm calling an ambulance, I said. Patricia lunged and grabbed my wrist, gripping it harder than I thought she had in her. No, she hissed. I yanked my hand free and pressed call anyway. Sirens in the distance. Her mask finally cracked all the way open. I turned to her, my voice soft now. What did you put in his coffee? Ryan's head snapped up. For the first time he actually looked at his mother. Really looked at her. She stammered. He's coming down with something. Ryan's body sagged against the counter. His breathing growing heavier by the second. The truth was sinking in for him, finally. The paramedics arrived and lifted him onto a stretcher. One of them turned to me. Did you see what he ingested? My eyes locked on Patricia. I don't know, I said. But his mother made it. Specifically for me. The paramedics exchanged a glance. Then one turned to her. Ma'am, is that true? She said nothing. Ryan, weak, pale, barely holding on, managed to croak out one hoarse word. Mom. At the hospital, the machines kept beeping into the silence. A doctor walked in, flipping through a chart. Mr. Walker, your test results show elevated levels of a toxic compound commonly found in sedatives. You're lucky you didn't ingest more than you did. Ryan swallowed hard. The doctor turned to me. You said his mother made the coffee. He nodded. His expression darkened. We're going to need to report this to the authorities. Ryan closed his eyes, fists clenched against the sheets. I let out a breath. You always took her side, Ryan. He flinched. You thought I was dramatic. That I made things up. I shook my head slowly. You never believed me. Not once. Emma. His voice broke. No, I said firm. You don't get to say my name like that anymore. A detective stepped into the room. Mr. Walker, do you want to press charges? Silence stretched out between all of us. Ryan hesitated, then turned to me, like he was waiting for me to make the decision for him. But I was done protecting him. I stood and smoothed my jacket down. That's not my call, I said coolly. It's yours. Then I walked out of the hospital, out of his life. Because Patricia might have put something in my coffee, but Ryan had let her get away with it for years. And that was unforgivable. Stepping out into the crisp night air, I inhaled deep, like I was trying to push every year of manipulation and betrayal straight out of my lungs. My phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. Papers are ready. Just say the word. I stared at the screen for a moment. My hands were steady. I typed back without hesitating. File them. This was never just about Ryan drinking poisoned coffee. This was about every single time he'd let his mother chip away at me, piece by piece, until I barely recognized my own reflection. No more. Back inside, Ryan sat on the hospital bed, weak, his mind spinning. Detective Harper's voice stayed firm. Mr. Walker, I need your answer. Do you want to press charges against your mother? His fingers twitched against the sheets. He looked completely lost. 4 years, Patricia had shaped his whole world, convinced him I was the problem, that I was beneath him. But now, for the first time, he was seeing her clearly. Monster. He swallowed hard. When he finally spoke, his voice came out hoarse. Yes. The next morning, I sat in my lawyer's office, flipping through the divorce papers. Ms. Carter watched me carefully. Are you sure about this? I let out a quiet laugh. I was sure years ago. I just didn't know it yet. I signed the final page with a steady hand. It was over. Meanwhile, Patricia sat in an interrogation room, hands clasped tight in front of her. Her face was composed, but her eyes were wild, darting from wall to wall like a caged animal. Detective Harper folded his arms across from her. Your son has agreed to press charges, Mrs. Walker. I'd suggest you start talking. Patricia sneered. Ryan is weak. He always has been. Harper raised an eyebrow. Is that why you poisoned him? Her mouth opened then shut. For the first time in her life, she had absolutely no control over anything. Ryan was discharged 2 days later. He went back to the house we used to share. But it was empty. My things were gone. My scent, my presence. All of it erased. A single envelope sat on the dining table. His name written across it in my handwriting. With a shaky hand, he opened it. Ryan, you may not have poured the poison into my cup, but you let her do it. You let her break me down over and over, and you never once stood up for me. I won't hate you, Ryan. But I won't forgive you either. I'm leaving. I suggest you do the same. Because now you know the truth about your mother. And you have to live with it. Goodbye, Emma. He sat down heavily in his chair. For the first time in his life, he understood that power isn't something you take. Something you give away. And he had given his mother far too much of it. He had lost everything because of that. Me, I was already driving out of town, watching the city skyline shrink in my rearview mirror. A new life waiting for me. One without Patricia. Without Ryan. Without fear. I didn't know where the road would take me. But for the first time in years I was free. I drove in silence, the hum of the tires on the road the only rhythm keeping pace with my thoughts. I wasn't sad anymore. I was relieved. For years I had convinced myself that enduring Patricia's cruelty and Ryan's indifference was just part of marriage. Sacrifice. Duty. But it wasn't. Love was never supposed to feel like a battle. Test of endurance. A slow poisoning of the soul. Patricia's arrest made headlines in our town. Prominent socialite arrested for attempted poisoning of daughter-in-law. I didn't read the full article. I didn't need to. The world was finally seeing her for exactly what she was. And Ryan. He was left picking up the pieces of a life he'd let get destroyed. Months passed. I settled into a small coastal town, far from every ghost of my past. I got a job at a local bookstore, something simple, something peaceful. Every morning I woke up and made my own coffee. One I knew was safe. And that was enough. One evening, sitting on my porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, my phone buzzed. Ryan. For a second I thought about ignoring it. But something told me to read it anyway. Emma, I was wrong. About everything. I see that now. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I stared at the words for a long moment. Then I typed back. I hope you learn from this, Ryan. Really do. But some things can't be undone. I care. I hit send. Then I blocked his number. The past had no place in my future anymore. A year later I was truly happy. I had built a life that belonged to me, and only me. One morning, sipping my coffee, I thought back over everything I'd survived. The betrayal. Pain. The slow realization that I'd spent too many years pouring my love into people who only knew how to drain me dry. And now, I was whole. I'd saved myself. So that's how I ended up here. I spent years believing I had to endure suffering for the sake of love. But real love should never ask you to sacrifice your dignity, your safety, or your happiness. When people show you who they are, believe them. And when the moment finally comes to walk away, have the courage to actually do it. Because the greatest power you'll ever have is knowing exactly when to let go.